Okay, now for the last example, question 8. So I hope you have tried already. Okay, so same thing, we will find the range first. Okay, so for the range, they want the angles between 0 and 2 pi. So similarly, we are working with the range of z from 0 to 2 pi inclusively. Okay, so inclusively means that I also include 0 and 2 pi. Okay, so the next step is this. So now we have this one. It doesn't look like a normal question, but again, you'll be like, oh, so how do I solve it? So in order to solve it, I have to make it into like sine something equals 0, cos something equals 0, or tangent something equals 0. So for this case, once again, we need to factorize. So what is the common factor you see at both sides? I hope you can see. Tangent z. So if I factorize tangent z, tangent squared z divided by tangent z is just tangent z. So tangent z divided by tangent z is 1. Please take note. Tangent z divided by tangent z is not 0. It's like 5 divided by 5, you don't get 0. Okay, now same thing, 0 product. So I can write this as tangent z is equals to 0, or let's do a quick one, tangent z is equals to 1. Okay, so now once we are here again, we will find our reference angle. So since I told you already, reference angle, if you see 0, 1, half, root 3, 1 over root 3, values like this, right? We know that there is a special angle. So what we do is, similarly, we will use degree mode, and we just need to do tangent inverse 0 here. And this gave us the value 0, which means our answer for reference angle is just 0. Similarly, now let's do for the next one, tangent inverse 1. The value you get is 45 degree. So 45 degree is, okay, from here you can see 45 degree is actually pi over 4 radian. Okay, so we will just use it as it is. Now, next one. We will do a next step where we determine the quadrant. We will do ASTC again. So similarly, we will treat 0 as a positive value. So which quadrant does tangent has a positive value? Okay, the first quadrant and the third quadrant. So similarly, we'll just write it. If it's a first quadrant, it's just the reference angle. If it's a third quadrant, it's 180 plus reference angle, right? Since we are doing with radian, it's just pi plus reference angle. Okay? Now, similarly, we will do this ASTC for the second one. Okay, so for tangent to be positive again, we will have answers at the first and third quadrant. So first quadrant being just reference angle, and third quadrant being pi plus the reference angle. Okay, everyone clear here? And finally, we are at the step where we will try to solve for z. So our z is just equals to answer in the first quadrant and the third quadrant here. First quadrant is just 0 radian. Second quadrant, we take pi plus reference angle, which is pi radian. Okay, similarly here, we want to see whether there's more cycles. So if 0 degree, right, if we add a forward cycle, so 0 plus 2 pi, is it within the range of 0 to 2 pi? Since it is within the range, 2 pi is one of the answer. Okay, so any more answers from the first quadrant? No more, because it will be all over the range. So for the third quadrant, it's the same. So pi, if I minus 2 pi or plus the 2 pi, you realize it's not within the range. So for the third quadrant, that's the only answer. And we are done with the first left-hand side. Okay, now for the right-hand side, similarly, I have z is equals to the first quadrant and the third quadrant here. So first quadrant being pi over 4. Third quadrant being pi plus pi over 4. Okay, similarly, I can use my calculator for that. Pi is, because I can say it has like x plus x over 4, which on the calculator, I'll just write 1 plus 1/4 here. So here by itself, we always like to use improper fraction. So it's 5 over 4. So I just need to replace as 5 over 4 pi, or 5 pi over 4. Okay, for this case, we can also do a very quick one. So pi over 4 is like 1/4. If I take 1/4 plus 2 or 1/4 minus 2, do you think it will be within the range? if I go by another cycle or a reverse cycle, you'll realize that it will be out of the range. So that's the only answer for the first quadrant. Similarly, for the third quadrant, 5 pi over 4 is within the range of 2 pi. Okay, 5 over 4 is less than 2. But if I add one cycle of 2 pi or minus a 2 pi, it will be out of the range. So therefore, this is the only two answers for your right hand side. Okay, the equation on the right hand side. And therefore, I can say that my x is equals to, my z is equals to, in ascending order, 0, pi over 4, pi, 5 pi over 4, and 2 pi. And that's the answer. Okay, is this clear? Okay, if you are fine with all the examples, we will do more practice in class.